When you gaze into dark, cloudy waters, it's easy to wonder about what might be hiding below. Over time, we've learned that the world's waters hold more than just sea creatures and litter. From lost cities to ancient finds, here are 20 odd things found in water bodies that were drained. Number 20. 200 People Rave. If you're from Newcastle, United Kingdom, perhaps this discovery is familiar. In 2017, the local authorities of Newcastle were forced to wade through underground tunnels, braving the waist-deep sewage for one peculiar reason. They discovered people in the sewers. Not just people, but 200 individuals. Yes, you heard that right. Now, what could possibly be the reason why these people are all gathered in the sewer? After careful investigation, authorities discovered that the bizarre rendezvous was for a 200-person rave. Needless to say, the police never expected people to party at around 4 a.m. in the local sewer. When interviewed, one of the people the police caught even claimed that there wasn't any smell underneath, making it possible for them to party in the tunnel-like drain. The authorities weren't quite happy with what they found. Aside from possibly disrupting the locals in the area, the people who attended the rave were also endangering themselves. It was the last time the authorities discovered people trying to party in the sewer. Now, we can only guess whether the people stopped sneaking into the dark tunnels or they just got better at hiding. Number 19. Forgotten Oregon Town. Now, this is yet another historic discovery that was revealed by the historic drought that ravaged the Western country for several years. In 2015, a historic town revealed itself after Detroit Lake reached record low water levels. With the receding water level was the great reveal of the abandoned town of Old Detroit. Are there any history enthusiasts here that are familiar with it? For the uninitiated, Old Detroit was once a small town with a very humble population of 200. It was founded in 1880 and was initially meant to be a camp used by men working on the Oregon Pacific Railroad, the ambitious brainchild of local businessman Thomas E. Hogg. Through this railroad, he expected to connect the state with the east of the country. As we know, this never quite reached its potential. The track initially began in the city of Salem, about 50 miles east of Old Detroit, and was supposed to follow the path of the North Santiam River. It was also meant to continue through the Cascades and towards the Transcontinental Railroad. But just like all business ventures, some are bound to fail, and for Hogg, this was one expensive investment. Hogg ran out of cash before the railroad could become a reality. He let go of this plan and bought a steamship instead to connect his railroad with the city of San Francisco. Even so, the town of Old Detroit maintained a decent population. Cafes, a cinema, a church, a school, and a hardware store were even present, making it a self-sufficient location. However, it became impossible to secure a job or a means of living there. The situation worsened when the North Santiam River, flowing through the nearby Cascade Mountains, swelled with rainfall and snowmelt. But that's not the end of Old Detroit, at least not yet. In 1938, Congress passed the Flood Control Act. This marked the beginning of the plans to create dams. Among this was the plan of creating the Detroit Dam. This massive structure would stretch 1,580 feet wide and about 360 feet high. Unfortunately, the completion of this dam meant flooding the location where Old Detroit stood. With no choice but to move forward in the name of development, the project was commenced, and the people of Old Detroit left their homes. Today, remnants of this town can only be seen when the water levels recede. Number 18. Misplaced bovine. 1,000 to 4,000 pounds, that's how heavy mature male cows are, while females weigh up to 2,400 pounds. Depending on the species, cows can grow up to 145 centimeters tall and have a body length of up to 250 centimeters. With that being said, bovines have no business being inside a manhole, and yet, a cow in Fujian Province, China, found itself stuck in a manhole. This bizarre incident occurred over a decade ago, involving the cow of a local farmer, Shang Shu. Shang claimed that he spent 4 whole days trying to find his cow. By the 4th day, he was already losing hope that he'd ever see the cow again. Luckily, the cow seemed to know how to ask for help. Villagers around the area suddenly heard a bizarre, disembodied mooing sound. Their search for the source of the sound led them to an open manhole, where the poor cow's head could be seen. The people couldn't believe their eyes. Cows are big, and while they seem like they have no thoughts in their heads sometimes, aside from grazing, they aren't so unaware that they would fall into open manholes. So, how did this poor cow end up in this bizarre situation? Well, the cow's owner had no idea. Luckily, the cow was freed easily with an improvised winch, quickly lifting it out of the manhole. After that, the cow began grazing again, as if nothing happened. Number 17. Buddhist statue. The Yangtze or Yangtze River is the longest river in Eurasia and the third longest in the world, following the Nile and the Amazon. It measures a staggering 3,900 miles, and its name in Mandarin Chinese translates to Long River. The prosperous delta of this river is responsible for as much as 20% of the country's GDP, and the dam located in this body of water is considered the largest hydroelectric power station in the world that's in use. That said, the decline of the Yangtze River would affect the country greatly. That's the challenge all officials faced in China in 2022. That year, a severe drought hit the country, sending the waters of the Yangtze to dangerously low levels, and while the entire nation had to make do to manage their water sources, a blessing decided to reveal itself. As the waters of the Yangtze receded, statues, these aren't ordinary works of art. These 3 statues were initially submerged near the southwestern city of Chongqing. The statue depicted a trio dedicated to Buddhism. According to archaeologists, the statues were most likely 600 years old. One of the figures was found sitting in a lotus position, while the 2 smaller statues were seated upright. These statues were found sitting on top of a reef and only became visible when the regional drought pushed the waters in the area to a record-breaking low. For some, the appearance of the statues is considered a curse, but for many, it became a sign of hope. Number 16. 400-year-old church. Perhaps this is among the most unbelievable discoveries in this video. You see, for many years, a church can be seen rising from the surface of the waters of one of the reservoirs in Mexico, or rather, the uppermost portion of a church was accessible. This could only be reached by boat, and it's hard to believe that beneath the waters is the entire structure. And yet that's what a drought revealed in 2023. That year, an intense heat wave spread in various parts of Mexico. The state of Chiapas was among the most severely affected, leading many bodies of water in the area to reach dangerously low water levels. It was then that the entirety of the church was revealed. Although largely hidden, its existence wasn't exactly a secret. This bizarre church was constructed in the mid-16th century by Dominican friars, led by Friar Bartolomé de las Casas, and was dedicated to the Apostle James the Greater. Originally, it was a place of worship for the people of the now-vanished town of Quechua. For decades, the upper part of this church was visible to observers from just beneath the water surface, accessible only by boat. But as the drought significantly lowered the water levels of the Nezahualcóyotl Reservoir, the entire church revealed itself. The old church that was once submerged in water was temporarily accessible by visitors walking on foot. But how exactly did the church end up submerged in water? It all began in 1966. This year, the Nezahualcóyotl Hydroelectric Dam, also known as the Malpaso Dam, was constructed. The church was located among the places set to be deliberately flooded to give way to the dam, and the rest is history. Number 15. Dino tracks. I don't know about you, but I've always been fascinated with dinosaurs. It's incredible to see all the traces these incredible creatures left behind, from fossils of their bones down to their footprints. That's exactly what park rangers discovered at a Texas state park in 2022. This was all possible because of a 2-year drought that struck the area. With rising temperatures and significantly less rainfall, the river flowing through the park receded, with some parts drying up completely. This revealed the magnificent dinosaur tracks that experts believe to be over 113 million years old. Most of the tracks discovered in the area most likely belong to a species known as the Acrocanthosaurus. This creature's name literally means high-spined lizard. This massive creature roamed through the forests of what is now North America. It stood about 15 feet tall at the hips and measured up to 38 feet in length. That's longer than a school bus, and it weighed as much as 3 small cars combined, around 6 to 7 tons. It was a force to be reckoned with. As its name suggests, however, its size wasn't the only thing it boasted. Running along its back were tall neural spines, which supported a ridge of muscle that's theorized to have been used for several purposes. Some scientists think this unique feature might have helped support its massive body and powerful tail, while others speculated it could have been used for display or even to regulate body temperature. Either way, it's obvious that this behemoth would have dominated North America had it adapted and survived to this day. Number 14. Sunken World War II warship. The Danube, Europe's second longest river, has a long history that includes being the location of both commerce and conflict. Weaving through the heart of the European continent, it's seen the rise and fall of empires, and recently, it revealed remnants of World War II near Serbia's river port town of Prhovo. More than 20 German ships were discovered, with some of them containing ammunition and explosives, despite it being decades after the Second World War. The German flotilla still left behind a big ecological disaster that threatened the locals around the area. After discovering what was being hidden by the lake, Serbian authorities deployed an operation that amounted to $30 million to salvage the remnants of war in the area. Well, that's one expensive cleanup. This extensive salvage operation not only aimed to remove dangerous war remnants but also sought to protect the Danube's delicate ecosystem, which supports a diverse range of wildlife and is crucial for local livelihoods. The operation also highlighted the ongoing impact of historical conflicts on present-day environments and communities, underscoring the importance of addressing these legacies. Moreover, the discovery has sparked renewed interest in the region's World War II history, with historians and researchers keen to uncover more about the events that led to these ships sinking. Finally, the cleanup effort demonstrated the international importance of maintaining the Danube as a vital waterway for commerce, navigation, and ecological health, emphasizing cooperation between nations along its banks. Number 13. Spanish Stonehenge. Around 7,000 years ago, the dolmen of Guadalperol was created. This megalithic formation consists of 144 standing stones, with some reaching up to 6 feet tall, arranged in a circular formation that's reminiscent of England's Stonehenge, earning it the nickname Spanish Stonehenge. Despite the fact that England's Stonehenge is more renowned and iconic, the dolmen of Guadalperol was built first. However, just like Stonehenge, the dolmen's purpose remains a mystery. Archaeologists believe it could have been a tomb, a site for religious rituals, or even a trading hub due to its strategic location near the river. The structure was so significant that its builders transported granite stones from miles away to create it. But to this day, we aren't really too sure. You see, this monument was originally discovered and excavated in the 1920s by German archaeologist Hugo Obermeier, but its significance and entirety were not fully appreciated. In fact, in 1963, this megalithic structure was deliberately flooded to give way to the construction of the Valdecañas Reservoir. For decades, the dolmen of Guadalperol lay hidden beneath the water surface, with only the tips of the tallest stones being visible. In 2019, however, a drought struck Europe, and among the most affected was Spain. For the first time in decades, the dolmen of Guadalperol was in full view. This prompted not only renewed interest in studying the stones, but also inspired locals and archaeologists to petition for its relocation to preserve it from further damage. However, relocating an archaeological site can be a daunting feat, and so to this day, the Spanish Stonehenge remains in the same location, only to be seen when the waters recede. Number 12. Fatberg. Do you know what a fatberg is? Now, it might sound like the name of a monstrous being, but a fatberg is essentially just a monstrous sewer blockage made from a mix of congealed fat, wet wipes, and other things that shouldn't have been flushed down the toilet. Sounds like a nightmare most people would be repulsed to imagine. So, just imagine what workers felt when they discovered the massive fatberg that was the culprit behind the sewage problem of the seaside town of Sidmouth in Devon, United Kingdom. This particular fatberg was discovered in 2018, and it was among the largest fatbergs found in the United Kingdom. In fact, it was so large and so nasty that it took not 1, but 8 long weeks for workers to remove the enormous blockage from the sewers. So, the next time you flush things that aren't flushable down the toilet, just think about how much worse it would be if the community has to deal with a massive chunk of stinky blockage. Number 11. Mole people. If you're from Las Vegas, perhaps you've already heard about the mole people. They might sound like cryptids, but mole people are ordinary humans who have chosen, or rather were forced, to live like moles in the sprawling underbelly of Las Vegas. Beneath all the glitter and pleasure on its surface are people who are stuck in the most difficult and hopeless circumstances. These are the so-called mole people. They occupy Las Vegas' network of tunnels and forgotten utility passageways. Sadly, these types of people aren't limited to the United States. These people are compared to moles, living in the dark, away from the surface. While it might sound like a modern-day myth, the reality is both more mundane and more complex. The mole people are often individuals who, for various reasons, have found themselves living in these underground spaces. This includes people experiencing homelessness, runaways, and even those seeking a life away from society's gaze. The underground offers a form of shelter from the elements, a degree of privacy, and, in some ways, safety from the challenges faced on the streets. However, life in the shadows is far from easy. These environments are often dangerous, lacking in basic amenities, and, in most cases, illegal to inhabit. The stories of the mole people first gained widespread attention in the 1990s, thanks to journalist Jennifer Toth's book, The Mole People: Life in the Tunnels Beneath New York City. Toth's accounts of encounters with individuals living in the city's underbelly captivated the public's imagination. In fact, it touched the hearts of many. Unfortunately, almost 2 decades after Toth's scoop, the mole people remain in different parts of the world to this day, still hiding and living in the dark, hoping that rainfall doesn't wash away the cardboard and other junk they make use of to have the tiniest comfort possible while underground. Number 10. Century-old train trestle. In 2016, a drainage project occurred in Colorado. Everything was normal until the lake's water was drained. It was then that construction workers discovered a historic find, a century-old train trestle. A train trestle, what's so impressive about that? You see, these massive structures aren't ordinary ones. These rundown old structures date back to 1909, making the entire trestle a century old, or rather 107 years just to be precise. Even the construction workers who took on the job were quite surprised, claiming that the entire time they had worked around the area, they never had any idea that the trestle existed. A quick review of local records revealed that the trestle dates back to 1909, and design plans for the bridge date back to 1911. After discovering the existence of the trestles, the workers were forced to halt the operation. Even the project's civil superintendent was stumped by what they had stumbled upon. After more curious digging, they discovered that the bridge's plans were initiated to carry the Burnham Yard lead over Grange Creek that flowed through the area in the early 1900s. However, in 1951, Union Pacific backfilled the area with an embankment, and the first structures built for the bridge were buried in the area. Number 9. Echo Park Lake Cleanup. Nestled in the heart of Los Angeles is Echo Park Lake. Initially built in the 1860s as a reservoir for drinking water, this picturesque lake has witnessed the city's growth, becoming a recreational site by the early 20th century. Over the years, the lake has become a gathering spot for community events, from the famous Lotus Festival, celebrating Asian cultures, to vibrant gatherings honoring Latin American traditions. Nature enthusiasts and bird watchers find a haven in Echo Park Lake, home to an array of wildlife, especially birds. The lake also serves as an urban oasis for species such as ducks, geese, and even the occasional great egret. With that being said, we can only imagine just what people and animals leave behind in this area. Well, you'd probably be surprised. In September 2011, the lake in Echo Park was drained, and authorities discovered some of the most unexpected items. This includes a parking enforcement boot, a payphone, several boomboxes, an entire toilet, a model boat, about 20 frisbees, 36 trash cans, 7 shopping carts, several skateboards, and hundreds of glass bottles, among other rubbish. Overall, the drainage and cleanup project had a budget of about $65 million. After its completion, the lake was reopened with plans to be more eco-friendly. Unfortunately for the park officials, the lake might yield the same, if not more, of these bizarre items if it were to be cleaned and drained today. Number 8. Headless Buddha. In 2019, the extreme climate that ravaged Thailand revealed one unexpected discovery: a 13-foot-tall headless statue of Buddha. This incomplete statue revealed itself as the waters receded. It was said that the headless statue was part of a temple until the place of worship and the surrounding village were submerged in 1999. You can probably guess why it was flooded in the first place. Yep, you guessed it. The area was submerged to give way for the construction of a dam. As the temple and the statue resurfaced, people from all walks of life began visiting the area that year. Despite the temperature being at an all-time high, people visited the Headless Buddha statue to leave their offerings and prayers. For some, the drought was a blessing in disguise that allowed people to once again reminisce about the submerged village and offer their prayers to the forgotten deity for good luck. Number 7. Wedding Ring. Wedding rings are quite important, not only for their symbolism but also because of their market value. It's no wonder that these accessories are among the most valued. And so, when 47-year-old Matt Walker lost his gold ring while swimming in a tidal marine lake, he was immediately distraught. With the size of over 820 feet long and about 330 feet wide, combined with its murky waters, the lake was a hopeless place to search for lost belongings. Needless to say, Matt went home with a heavy heart that day. Lucky for him, while the odds weren't in his favor that day, Lady Luck blessed someone else in his place. After calling the committee that maintains the lake in Clevedon, North Somerset, Matt learned that the lake would be drained 2 months later. However, it was still not guaranteed that authorities would find the ring, but it was worth the try. With the help of several metal detectorists, however, the ring found its way back to Matt's finger. They also discovered plenty of garbage and went through several false alarms. But hey, all's well that ends well. Number 6. Spanish Ghost Village. In 1992, The small Spanish village of Esridu was deliberately flooded to create a reservoir. For many, sacrificing the town was essential for the greater cause. This village was forgotten by many until 30 years later. In 2022, Spain was hit with an incredible drought that brought water levels down to just 15% of its capacity. With the waters being low, the flooded Spanish village of Esridu once again revealed itself. Visitors who once called Esridu home, and those witnessing its eerie beauty for the first time, were drawn to its ruins. The landscape, now a barren stretch where life once thrived, is scattered with the debris of life paused in the early 90s. Partially collapsed roofs, a fountain still spewing water, and an old car rusting in place. For the residents who were forced to leave the village at the time, the resurgence of Esridu brings a mix of nostalgia and sorrow, a chance to see their former lives re-emerge from the depths. And as the waters rise again, Esridu will once again be temporarily forgotten. Now it's time for today's topic. After engineers drained the Niagara Falls in 1969, observers made a stomach-churning discovery. It was this year that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers used 27,000 tons of rock to dam the Niagara River and stop the flow of the American Falls. Initially, all they found were countless coins, several pieces of junk, and then they saw the chilling remains of people. 2 people were discovered when the Niagara was, as said by many, turned off. In the 17th century, the falls became a popular tourist destination. There's a possibility that the bodies belonged to one of the tourists who unfortunately fell to their deaths, or perhaps the 2 remains were part of something more sinister. This revelation not only shed light on the dangers associated with the powerful natural wonder but also prompted a thorough investigation by local authorities. The event led to an increased focus on safety measures for tourists visiting the falls. Additionally, it sparked a wider discussion about the many mysteries that might lie beneath the waters of such historic sites. The discovery of human remains at the drained falls served as a grim reminder of nature's power and the importance of respecting safety barriers at such attractions. Number 5. Half a mini car. Now, speaking of blockages, Fatbergs weren't the only crazy things that were discovered in European sewers. In 2014, workers discovered half a mini car in a London sewer, and it's just one of the many things that caused a major problem in the city's sewage system. What's more, it wasn't the only thing workers discovered in the sewage. Elsewhere in the United Kingdom, workers also found a prosthetic leg, lifeless farm animals, and a Honda motorbike. That's on top of heaps of trash. The Consumer Council for Water revealed that there were 52,000 sewer blockages in the capital that year, and it was among the highest number compared to other cities in the United Kingdom. Needless to say, the entirety of the blockages cost the country a staggering £70 million. That's one hefty sum. These incidents have highlighted the significant challenges that urban waste management systems face, prompting calls for greater public awareness and changes in waste disposal habits. The bizarre nature of the items found underscores the often overlooked impact of improper waste disposal on infrastructure and environmental health. Efforts to address these challenges have included public education campaigns aimed at reducing sewer misuse. Furthermore, the high costs associated with clearing blockages have spurred discussions about more sustainable urban planning and the need for more stringent waste management policies. Number 4. Rock carving of human faces. Last year, a severe drought brought a historic discovery to light in Brazil. Looking at this rock, one wouldn't expect it to be archaeologically significant. In reality, this rock, covered with carvings of human faces, was made by our predecessors over a millennium ago. Many of these human carvings were discovered on a stretch of shore known as Ponta das Agulhas, a body of water that flows into the Amazon. According to archaeologist Jamie Oliveira, these seemingly modern doodles were carved by people who lived in the area in pre-Columbian times. After all, the Amazon was home to several groups as far back as 2,000 years ago. It appears that the human tendency to leave marks in places we visited or lived in has been present throughout our entire history, from our earliest ancestors to the present day. Who knows, perhaps the next time the water levels recede, newer and more exciting discoveries will be revealed. Number 3. Bombay Beach Town. Did you know that within California is a forgotten town that's now surrounded by receding, toxic water? I'm talking about Bombay Beach, and I bet some of you have heard of it before. Bombay Beach once epitomized California's post-war boom. The once picturesque location attracted tourists not only from within the country but also from around the world. Initially envisioned as a resort paradise, it boasted beachfront properties frequented by celebrities and the elite. However, environmental and ecological challenges gradually turned it into a ghost town, a fate seemingly sealed by the sea's rising toxicity and receding shores. In 2011, however, Bombay Beach became an offbeat art hub, which means it also attracted homeless people and those who simply wanted to find a temporary place to stay. The Bombay Beach Biennale propelled this change, initiated in 2016 by a collective of artists, intellectuals, and philanthropists who saw potential in its desolation. They've infused the town with creativity and expression, turning abandoned spaces into canvases for artistic endeavor. The town now boasts installations like the Bombay Beach Drive-In, a collection of derelict cars facing a white truck trailer, conceptual art that doubles as a community cinema. Despite its isolation and the challenges of desert living, the town is slowly reviving. Property prices have risen, and the community now features amenities like grocery stores and a restaurant. Perhaps there's hope of this village reviving itself once again. Let's hope it won't suffer the same fate as it did the first time it thrived. Number 2. Unknown bodies. In 2022, Lake Mead, the United States' largest reservoir, revealed its long-hidden secrets due to unprecedented drought. Unknown bodies. Yep, you heard that right. It revealed unknown human bodies. The drought has exposed parts of Lake Mead that have been submerged for decades. There are only speculations about the identity of the remains, and we can now only wonder just what other grim secrets the lake holds. As the water level continues to recede, the possibility of discovering more remains increases, raising questions about the circumstances surrounding these deaths. The situation has attracted attention from law enforcement and forensic experts, who face the challenge of identifying the remains and investigating potential cold cases. This turn of events has also sparked a wider public interest in the history of Lake Mead, prompting discussions about its past uses and the stories submerged beneath its waters. The uncovering of these bodies has turned Lake Mead into a site of macabre fascination, reminding us of nature's power to conceal and, eventually, reveal. Number 1. Canal Saint Martin Cleanup. In 2016, the infamous Canal Saint Martin was drained. This waterway was completed in 1825 under Napoleon Bonaparte's orders. Since then, the canal has undergone several repairs and cleanups, ensuring its structural integrity. Each time this waterway is drained, people are surprised by what they discover. Past cleanups have unearthed items as varied as gold coins and World War I shells. But in 2016, different items still turned up. Among the discovered objects were dozens of Veleb rental bicycles, scooters, baby strollers, office chairs, shopping carts, traffic cones, and, of course, trash from bottles to plastic wrappers. The cleaning process lasted about 3 months and cost, wait for it, nearly €9 million. That's a little over $11 million at the time. Who knows what other things will turn up the next time Canal Saint Martin is drained and cleaned? My top guess? Bicycles will always be on the list. Now, perhaps some of you guys have a discovery to share. Feel free to share the most interesting thing you found while exploring lakes or any body of water in the comments down below. Also, check out our other videos showing up on the screen right now, and we'll see you in the next video.